Greetings, everybody. I just realized it's been a really long time since I've done any tarot videos here on YouTube. I just got off of this 8 weeks of tarot classes, which went really well. I enjoyed them so much. I can't tell you. It was wonderful to be able to meet subscribers and spend 8 weeks with them. I calculated we had something like 20 hours together. It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I hope to do it again. I hope to do it again soon. Anyway, today, so I thought I would do I'd like to try to do a little more regular tarot videos, because tarot is a big part of my life, and I know not all of you are readers, but some of you are, and I think those of you who are appreciate the tarot videos, and those of you who do not can simply skip them. I have other videos up that you might be interested in, so I'll be sure to try to keep it balanced. But anyway, I got this. I fell in love with this deck. I saw it done by a couple of people that I love to watch. It's called the Shadowland Tarot. It's by Monica. What's her name? Monica Budirsky. And oh my, it's so fun. It's such a fun. Such a fun deck. And I got it basically, I thought it would be another deck for me to use. Those of you who have watched my tarot videos in the past probably realize that I do a lot of shadow work in the dark part of the year. That's when I think that's pretty common. A lot of us, excuse me, a lot of us do shadow work in the dark part of the year. Examine some of our fears and anxieties and patterns and etc. And I got it for that purpose, because I saw the imagery and I thought, oh, these cards are just, they speak to me so much. And every time when I opened the deck, every card I pulled out, I was squealing with delight. My husband could tell you I'm so in love with these images. And I thought about doing a walkthrough. Enough other people have done walkthroughs. I'm not going to do a walkthrough. I am going to do some reading, so I'm going to spend some time doing some readings with this deck, and that way you'll get to see as many of the images as come up. But because if you want to get the deck for yourself, if you want to see the deck for yourself, you can see it very easily. A lot of people do walkthroughs. But for those of you who like surprises, it'll give you enough of a hint just watching my readings that maybe then you can get the deck and have the enjoyment of seeing some of these images for the first time yourselves, because I think that was wonderful. I did not receive this from Ms. Budirsky. I'm not trying to sell her decks. I'm not trying to do that. But I wanted to give this a really honest review. I'm enjoying it so much. I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot. One of the reasons I love it, well, first of all, I wanted to tell you that I wanted to show you this because it's in one of these really cool boxes that are so with a magnet front. They keep the desk, for those of you who keep your decks in boxes, it's wonderful because it's a good way to keep in those little flip boxes with that just fit the deck with a little flip top, are usually so fragile, and the deck is packed so tight in there, sometimes trying to put the deck back in the box can damage the deck, so I am not a fan of those at all. But I don't normally keep decks in their boxes. Some decks I do that I don't use often, I will keep in a box. But I'll show you in an upcoming video exactly what I do with my decks. But this is perfect for people that need to keep them in a box. This is a very, very good product. Okay, one of the things I liked about the deck, another thing I like about it, of course, is it has this fantastic, it comes with this fantastic book, which is full of, each card has a color imagery and different information, which I will show you. I'll show you in a minute. But I just want to talk to you about what the deck is about. One reason I love it so much. Oh, and here are the cards, so that you get to see. It's a thick deck. It's a nice big thick deck. It's not too overly sized. On a day when my arthritis is not bad, I'm able to riffle shuffle. On other days, I have difficulty doing it. It's right in between that for me. I can just barely reach. I can just barely reach, the cards. And I don't always have the strength to pull it. Like today, I do not have the strength to pull it, to do the riffle shuffling. But that, I will overlook it in this case. I'll overlook in this case. I could always shuffle it another way. But it has really beautiful gilded edges, which are pretty. Unfortunately, for filming, it's caused me a few issues because the imagery is dark. It's rather dark on the cards. So it's hard to show up. It's you have to get really close to look at it. But the things that I love about it is and the book is very thorough in talking about the inspiration for the deck, where the inspiration of the deck came from, which is, I want to just tell you just a second about this because I think it's so interesting. Most of you are familiar with the psychologist Carl Jung, and she talks about him in the preface here in her book about how he believed that our shadow self was composed of those parts of ourselves that we don't really like, the parts of us that are or that we would rather ignore, or we would rather keep hidden. And those are, and that's usually what happens. That's usually what we're looking at when we are doing shadow work. We're examining those traits about ourselves, and what is it about me that why do I do these things that I do that I later regret? Why do I follow patterns out all the time the same old pattern that I know it's going to end up in the same way and I do it anyway? Why do I do that? What am I really afraid of? What do I really, what is the real me? We spend so much of our time in the public world, at least we did until now, but so much time in the public world showing the people the face we want them to see. This is a good time we do shadow work to really examine the part of ourselves that we may have forgotten. Okay, but she talks about in this book, not just about that, but some other interesting concepts. But then what really caught my eye was she was talking about a contemporary filmmaker named Guillermo del Toro, who was absolutely fascinated with monsters and seeing those monsters as our own rejected selves. And the quote here comes from, I think she's quoting Del Toro by saying, they're a twisted reflection, like a funhouse mirror, and within that reflection there are aspects of yourself you don't normally see. Okay, in this capacity, then, monsters can assist us through our shadows as symbolic guides. And think about monster movies. We think about monster movies as sometimes they're so scary it's almost laughable, right? Or sometimes they are laughable. There's very many very popular, Dracula, who was a very frightening creature, became very funny in some of the movies that they made about Dracula. Or same with, the monster Frankenstein's monster, or the mummy. Sometimes we think of those this mummy, we think of them as funny. I personally do not find zombies funny. I find zombies stupid, but that's my personal opinion. But anyway, this is what endeared me to this deck, because she's taking imagery from things that scare us, and she's making them into cards that are just endearing in a way. The little monsters are just, they're almost natural, and in their depiction, they're so absurd, they're almost natural. They become a part that we're not afraid of them. We don't need to keep them hidden. We love them, and it's almost like we want to embrace that monster that's inside us. And so I thought, in that case, I'm trying to make this a little shorter story, but in that case, it would be appropriate then. We're not to the dark time yet. We're still in the light. We're still in the middle. Here we just had Lammas. We're approaching it, but we're not. We're still a ways to go before May 1, and we start to approach the dark part of the year. But but this kind of shadow work that I was talking about doing is, I think right now at a really appropriate time where I'm still under quarantine. Like I said, I'm still. I've been saying we're still here in California, at least here I am. We are still observing quarantine, and it's a tough time for us. It's a really tough time for us, and I have felt all along. I've been saying all along to you that I feel these changes. This whole year is a change. This is my year is temperance is my card of the year, and I've been examining that and what that means for me. What is it that I'm becoming this year? Where am I headed? I'm trying to get that balance, that balance in my life that is somehow out of whack. And so I wanted to use this deck and try a reading. I wanted to try a reading that I found in the back of her book, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. There, I just made a short story long, and I'm sorry. So we'll get to the reading. I've laid out my cards, and I want to get a couple first impressions before I go into the actual reading. I like to take a little bit of an overview of the entire spread, how the cards might be relating to each other, or what my first impressions that I see. And the actual absolute first impression that I notice in this reading is the absence of any major arcana cards. That is not normally unusual, but for me, it is very unusual. At this point in time, I have been inundated with major arcana cards since, I don't know, since the beginning of the year, pretty much. Some months, a few months, one after another, after another, after another, my draws of the day were major arcana cards. And I got to the point where I didn't know if my life was really that big of a mess, or something was possessing my deck or something. I decided to put a deck away and not do those, not do the daily draws, just for a little while. Not the one card. When I made my daily draws, is I was drawing one card a day just to feel the energies. I'm never a fan of single card readings, but that's one way I have of keeping in touch with the deck. Of course, I do other readings in the interim, but that part of my life was sort of messing up a little bit for me, so I just put them aside. And when I do this reading now, I am struck by the fact that there's no major arcana cards coming up, which I kind of like. It might not be so meaningful for when I'm looking for a reading that has to do with my life, but of course it's the everyday things that make up our, the little everyday things are the things that I think make us help decide our joy or our sorrow in many ways. If you're a really, really happy, content person, and a major event comes along in your life, you're better equipped to handle it than if you let, than the little bits that keep eating away at you, eating away at you, eating away at you. So I'm always very curious about the major arcana. Anyway, that's one major impression that I make, that I see. Another thing that is severely lacking from this is I have no cups and no wands in this spread. Again, for me at this time too, it's quite unusual. I'm a triple Cancer. Cups come up all the time in readings that I do for myself because, let's face it, my emotions are a big part of who I am. So my dreams, my intuition, everything about me pretty much is wrapped up in the Suit of Cups in one way or another. Also, wands. That's what makes me tick. The passions, the creative processes that I have, and those things in my life are what really define my joy or my depression. If I don't have things, it's a reflection. If I'm depressed, I don't create. If I don't create, I'm depressed. So that's true of a lot of people. but it's particularly true of me. And I have no wands again in this. Okay. I also see something that's unusual, perhaps, is the fact that I have 3 court cards. I've got here the King of Pentacles, I have the King of Swords, and the Queen of Swords. So that's unusual. I think it's unusual in any way to see 3 of the 6 cards show up to be court cards. Of course, it would be unusual to see, just as unusual as it would be to find 3 of the cards come up be major arcana cards out of 6. So I find that a little bit unusual, out of balance from what I normally see for anybody. It's very rare to see 3 court cards out of 6. Okay. The other thing that I find interesting is I have pentacles here in both the past. This is the past position, and this is a position which represents a blockage of some kind. Both are in pentacles, and all others are swords. All the 4 others are swords, which swords to me represents head games. So, or, you know, of course they have to do with thought, whatever to do with communication or knowledge of some kind, or, you know. So that's really, right away I'm seeing that this is going to be an interesting read for me, something that's maybe not I'm used to. So let's proceed and now look at what particular cards mean. We're going to look very carefully. I don't want to make it a long, elaborate reading. It's my personal reading, so I won't spend all the time that I'm going to spend on it on camera here. But I can give you a quick overview because I think it's important for me to help you see how I interpret cards in the position that have been assigned to them. I think that's really the key when it comes to interpreting a good reading, to get a good reading. Paying special attention to whatever position the card is assigned to. Okay? So many people fall into the trap of reading tower cards, for instance, as always being bad. Well, a tower card could be bad if you want to look at it that way. But what happens if the tower card shows up in the past? It's something that's already done. It's always something you know about. It's not it's something that you're going to have to deal with. You've already dealt with it. Perhaps you're still dealing with repercussions from it, but it's something that you know about. If, however, the Tower card is going to show up here as a future card, as an outcome card, you see that's an entirely different reading. So we have to pay attention to what position we assign the cards. Okay, that's just crucial. Now it is possible to get a really good reading without assigning any positions at all. But that's a whole different other kind of reading. And we'll do one of those. We'll do one of those soon so I can show you what I mean by that. But for right now, let's just concentrate on, we have 6 positions that we have assigned a meaning to each position on the reading, and 1 card in each position that we're going to interpret in respect to that position. Okay? That took a long time for me to say something very simple, but I just want to make that point. I want to emphasize it. Okay, we're going to start out with the center card here is the 6 of Swords. And the 6 of Swords is really a cute card in this deck. In a lot of decks, it's rather depressing. You know, we see in the Rider-Waite, the man the boat of people, the same boat and the same being driven off into a direction, but we really don't see much else. We see troubled water, still water, but we don't maybe see much else. We don't know much about the direction we're going in. We know nothing about where we've come from. Well, here we don't have clues either. In this card, we don't have any clues as to where we came from or where we're going, but we do have one clue that this person steering in charge of the boat, in charge of where it's going, the person there standing, let's say that is me, this is my reading, standing in this position has to do with me, because this is what is behind my smile, so it has to do with me 100%. Um, it's very determined, pointing in a direction. I don't know what I'm pointing towards. I don't know what lies behind me, behind where my back is facing, but I'm very determinedly pointing in a direction with like the longest finger in the world. um, I'm pointing the boat in that direction, but who am I directing in the direction that I'm pointing? But a water dragon. And this is what I find so cute in this card, what I find so interesting. Because the water dragon, if we look in the book, the water that accompanies the deck, the water dragon symbolizes hidden fears that are not being addressed, perhaps. And it says that it's not until these fears are brought to light what they are that they can even be addressed. The ability to see things in perspective we're very challenged right now because we don't have a story that attached to this card. Okay, it's hidden, so it's up to me to unfold what is hidden because it's in my mind, it's in my subconscious, it's my hidden fear, it's my water dragon, so it's something that I have to address. Okay, I need to make the change with confidence to address them, hence my very determinedly pointed finger. And also, it might imply something about a mobility that I need this, instead of me rowing the boat or steering the boat, that I need to have the assistance of this water dragon or something to help me move forward. And that might be something that is keeping me where I am, holding me where I am, because the water dragon is, I can make the water dragon cooperate or he won't cooperate. You know, I can do what I can do. But ultimately, if I'm going to depend on that water dragon to move us along in the water, he's going to have to cooperate. I am therefore giving the control over to this water dragon. And in a sense, I'm giving the control of where I am in a situation that I want to escape from. I'm giving that control to my emotions, my hidden fears, my hidden challenges. So that's really something to think about. In position 2 here, this position, of course, addressing what gift was given to me at birth and where was it to lead me. We see the 3 of Pentacles, this very cute little monster. Very, very proud of the accomplishments here that he's had. Very, very proud. And, you know, here, the shadow of the card, this is maybe the father monster sitting here. Reading his newspaper or whatever's in front of his face rather than looking at the accomplishments the young dragon is trying to show him. The dreams that I was manifesting, I had this ability, and I had this, you know, as a young person, I was full of dreams and full of the means to manifest the dreams and making them reality. But here it was very evident that it was really important that other people appreciate what I was doing. And I think this being in the shadow, we're talking about a shadow here of the card. The shadow is that if I didn't have the appreciation of what I manifested, did I continue to manifest? Did I continue to work towards my goal? If this is a dream, I could have where was it leading me? And you see it's led me here, that I'm still on my journey. I'm still trying with the 6 of Swords to move ahead. I'm still trying to go beyond, somewhere into the future. So is it this lack of attentiveness to what I have made or created causing me to be at the mercy here of this water dragon to propel me forward? Not sure. I do know that I was easily distracted. And this is very much part of this card, according to the book. I was very distracted, and what I was distracted, of course, was by emotions. My goals, instead of that I could work towards the goals, those goals became pipe dreams. I allowed myself to become frustrated if I wasn't able to obtain perfection or obtain, you know, the acknowledgement that I wanted to obtain for what I had done. It caused me, or as a result, I abandoned my goals too easily. I was too easily distracted away from the goals. Okay. So that's the past that I'm coming from. And now we've looked down at the block of the King of Pentacles as a blocking card. What block did I encounter on the path to pursue it? And what was holding me back? This is very much the roadblocks of establishment. A professional structure. You know, the King of Pentacles represents the recognition the confidence that you gain through being recognized for your efforts, of achieving your goals, of acquiring what it is you wish to acquire in life. And if this is a block in me, what was blocking me was the fact, the King of Pentacles is very much a part of rules, very much a part of the establishment of structure, of authority. That authority of where you have to sit, when you can have your coffee break, what kind of clothes you have to wear, what time, what hours of the day you have to be productive. All of those things, which are just things that I find very stifling to my creativity. And I, as a result, this craving that I have for freedom to make my own choices and to act impulsively and to take chances when I thought it was merited. Every time I got into some place in life that required me to adhere to or conform to established procedure or rules, or the jobs like working in a cubicle, working in a desk, those things just don't appeal to me at all. I can't grow in those positions, and it just has kind of led me to be stuck, because it's very difficult to fit into life today and not be able to move forward with your goals, not be able to move forward with your ideas, your creativity, whatever. It was like everything was working against me and not for me. Up here in position 4, we find the Eight of Swords, and the Eight of Swords is in the position of assistance, and I find that really interesting in this card, because this is not unlike the Eight of Swords that we see in the Rider-Waite deck, but instead of swords standing around with an easy way out, we do see feathers. This is a feathers keeping a crow, a bird, holding that crow in place, holding the bird from the crone's bird, the bird and the crone, the crone bird. I find kind of interesting, but this is the there is assistance here. The Eight of Swords is not something we normally think of as a card that's there to help you. We always think of the Eight of Swords as sort of a negative card, right? A negative card. So that we're somehow limited. We're held back. We're afraid to move. We're paralyzed in some way. Afraid to move. We're afraid to fail. We're afraid to move because of failure. How could that be a positive thing? Remember, this is in a position of something that is there to help me to move forward. What could that be? Well, this card speaks of whether or not I am responsible for creating this situation that I'm in. Whether or not I am responsible for creating, again, my current situation. I got there however I got there. But I alone can change that. I alone can change it. It is my responsibility to change my own situation. I control my own thoughts. I can change my perspective. Okay? I'm capable of walking away. Even if I don't know where I'm going, I am capable of walking away. And here I am on this water dragon. I'm capable of going forward. That is the positivity in the card. We spend a lot of time, and somebody like me, who spends a lot of time dealing in emotions and dealing in, I worry how I feel, what makes me feel. I get paralyzed with sadness or whatever. I'm too caught up in my emotions half the time to be able to move. I am responsible for my own movement. I don't have to sit and dwell on things that upset me. I don't have to sit and dwell on it. I control my thoughts. I can change my perspective. That is the positivity. That is the message in this card, in this spread. Okay, card number 5. We have the King of Swords in card number 5. The position here, what action do I need to take to proceed? This is an action card. And here we see the action very clearly in the King of Swords is that of using his mind, using his intellect. He's sitting here in the desk. He's in his thinking chair at his thinking desk. He uses his courage of logic, using his logic, his confidence in the logic and the skills he has, his organizational skills to achieve whatever goals he has. He doesn't worry about emotions. He doesn't proceed on his emotions. He does not proceed on this water dragon. He does not depend on this water dragon to propel him forward. He depends on himself. Just like the Eight of Swords tells us, we are capable of doing, I am to proceed with the assistance of myself, using my own my own experience, using my own thoughts, using my own abilities to achieve my goals. Keep my cool. Don't ever react to the situation that I'm in. Balance anytime alone. Also, this is also telling me, according to the book, it tells me that I need to balance because you don't want to be too stuck in your headspace. You don't want to be 100% stuck in your headspace. You have to be able to socialize a little bit. You're not alone in the situation. You have to be able to socialize. Just to keep that balance. Don't be just alone all the time. Because when I get alone all the time, that's when I go back to the emotions. That's when I go backwards. That's when I feel stuck. Because here, as in the Eight of Swords here, I feel trapped and I can't move. I'm blindfolded. My wings are tied down to my side. Because I'm stuck in myself. I'm waiting for somebody to help me. It's my job to help myself. And I have the ability to do that. I just have to keep balancing that. The Queen of Swords this is the ultimate outcome, but this is also a lesson to be learned from this. The Queen of Swords here in the final position, 6, tells me that my wisdom and my experience to see things and to be able to be cool in objection. One way to do this, to achieve my goals, and to get myself in a space where I feel good and feel comfortable, is to use my wit, is to use my abilities and here it even mentions to use my dry wit and my powerful words in writing, and it talks about writing being crucial. Well, yes, isn't that true? Because I've been writing a book project, and right now I'm letting other things distract me away from my book project. This is actually the time, like this reading is telling me, to use this time, to not worry, let go of my emotions, let go of my anxieties, let go of my worries, and get back into a book project and use what my knowledge and my experience and my wisdom that I wish to share with others, and do it. And just do it. But whatever I do, guarding those emotions is crucial. Guarding these emotions. Perhaps it's time for this water dragon to go back like the Loch Ness monster under the water. He's going to be peeking his head out a lot of times in my life, that's for sure, because that's who I am. That's all who I am. But for right now, I need to keep my emotions in check, proceed forward, using my intellect, using my knowledge, using my brains, my head, not my heart, to achieve what it is that I need to go, get me back on the track of where I want to be. Oh, for God's sakes, at 68 it is time. I need to get myself together and move forward. Okay. Okay, I thought that was I loved that reading. I really did, and I can see I was absolutely right that this is a deck that I really do want to spend some time with. I just want to say one more thing before we go. Everybody has cards in a deck that we really are important to us. A lot of people who buy more than one tarot deck and when they're judging a deck, part of when they judge a deck is they look at a card, and there's certain cards in the deck, and if they don't like, if they like the images on that card, they maybe will buy the deck. If there's important cards, whatever important are to them, they don't like the imagery for some reason, it could be a deal breaker when getting the deck. And I think we all have those. I think I did a video on that in the past. I might address that again for those of you who are new, because that's really kind of interesting when you look at it. I'd like to maybe compare if my cards have changed from before when I did that video, if I have different cards now. Okay. Well, this deck is not, I'm not looking at that in this deck right now, but one thing came to me when I was just, briefly examining the cards, because remember, I haven't done much work with this deck yet, is that in the past, if you've watched my tarot videos, you have seen one of the things that has excited me in using different decks has been my relationship with the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords is not a card. I would not consider that one of my favorite cards. It's just a card in the deck. It has been just a card in the deck to me. But it is a card that got my attention for the first time when I saw the Three of Swords in the Wildwood Tarot. The depiction of the Three of Swords and the Wildwood Tarot gave me such an increased understanding of that card that it just made me want to find out more about all the cards in the tarot deck. All of them. So that's what has finally, after years and years of using one deck only, inspired me to go forward on my quest of giving other decks a chance to play an important part of my life. And I found interesting, after I was all finished with this reading, I thought, the reading felt so spot on to me. And it just reminded me for some reason, I don't know what, maybe I opened the book and I glanced down at the Three of Swords, and I read about it here. I'll give you a close-up. I don't know if you can see that or not. Of course, because it's dark. We have a good bit of light in here right now, so it might be fine. You might be able to see it. But it is I'll tell you what it says about it. Here's a very cool and together city bird, which may be a cover-up for how he actually feels. Though a survivor, he feels torn between his thoughts and emotions, as symbolized by his needle-pierced heart necklace. I found this so timely that me looking at the Three of Swords today after finishing this reading that I just did. The idea of, this being torn between your thoughts and your emotions. And right now my reading was telling me very clearly it is not a time to have my emotions involved. It is a time to have my thoughts. To use my thoughts, to use my intellect, to use my abilities, my experiences, things that I know to be true. And it talks about, it continues in the message to talk about, you may be feeling torn between logic and emotions. Not only is this painful, the struggle between our head and our heart may create a situation of such dissonance that we shut down completely or dissociate to deal with it. You pulling yourself in, and that's what I'm doing. I can feel myself doing that. You may also become arrogant, defiant, or combative as a way to deal with your anger or pain. I have to say, I kind of feel that way a lot of times. So anyway, it just continues to go on and on. So anyway, I found that just a little interesting aside that I wanted to put there. The relationship that I've been having with the Three of Swords. Perhaps the Three of Swords is becoming a parameter, not something of what I love about a new deck, or dislike about a new deck, but a parameter to see what is this card, which is such a part of our daily lives, this idea about misunderstanding, or either losing something or misunderstanding something or miscommunication. Anytime we're dealing with people in any way, whether in person or on the internet or whatever, This is an issue that comes up all the time, isn't it? And maybe that's just a barometer of sorts for me in decks to help me decide what to do with the deck, what use that deck can be to me. I don't know. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. I'm following what my reading is going to tell me, and I'm thinking. I'm going to do some thinking. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to do some more with this Shadowland Tarot. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you look into it. It's adorable. It's an adorable deck. Some people, if you don't like this kind of artwork, it would not appeal to you, but I think a lot of you out there do. Okay, thank you again for watching. I hope to see you soon. Like always, I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.